The cargo bay smelled like burnt metal and something else he couldn't quite place. Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead and continued hauling crates from the transport ship. Earth's orbital station was always busy, but today felt different. The usual chatter among dockworkers had died down, replaced by nervous glances toward Bay 12. That's where she stood. The alien woman was tall, perhaps 7 feet, with skin that shimmered between deep blue and violet depending on how the light hit it. Her eyes were large and golden, with vertical pupils that contracted when she turned toward the commotion. She wore what looked like damaged armor, pieces of it hanging loose or missing entirely. Green fluid dripped from a wound on her shoulder. Most of the dock workers kept their distance. Humanity had been part of the galactic community for only 8 years, and while trade was common, trust was not. The other species saw humans as newcomers, primitives who had barely mastered faster-than-light travel. They tolerated Earth's presence in space, but rarely offered more than cold efficiency. Marcus watched as a station security officer approached her, hand on his weapon. The alien woman raised her hand slowly, speaking in a language that came through his translator as clicks and harmonics. She was asking for medical assistance. The officer shook his head and gestured toward the exit, clearly wanting her off the station. Something about the scene bothered Marcus. Maybe it was the way she clutched her injured shoulder, or how her eyes held more exhaustion than threat. He set down the crate he was carrying and walked over. "Hey," he called out to the officer. "What's the problem?" The officer turned, annoyed. "Stay out of this, Marcus. This is security business. She's hurt. We've got a medical bay right here. Station policy. Unregistered aliens need to process through customs first. She can get help after that." The officer's tone made it clear the conversation was over. Marcus looked at the alien woman again. The green fluid was pooling at her feet now. Whatever internal biology she had, she was losing too much of it. He made a decision that would probably cost him his job. "Come on," he said to her, gesturing toward a side corridor. "I know someone who can help." The officer started to protest, but Marcus was already moving. The alien woman hesitated only a moment before following him. Her footsteps were surprisingly quiet despite her size. He led her through the maintenance corridors, away from the main thoroughfares. His friend David ran a small clinic in the lower levels, mostly serving dock workers who couldn't afford official medical care. David asked few questions and kept fewer records. The clinic was cramped and dimly lit, but clean. David looked up from his desk, eyes widening when he saw Marcus's companion. "You've got to be kidding me," David muttered. "She's hurt bad. Can you help her or not?" David stared for a long moment, then sighed and gestured to an examination table. "Get her up there, and you owe me for this." The alien woman climbed onto the table with difficulty. Up close, Marcus could see that her armor wasn't just damaged from wear, but from weapons fire. Scorch marks and punctures covered the chest plate. David worked quickly, using diagnostic tools that hummed and beeped as they scanned her. Her biology is similar enough to the database entries. That green stuff is definitely blood, or close enough. She's lost about 20% of her volume. He grabbed supplies and began cleaning the wound. The alien woman watched him work, her golden eyes flicking between David and Marcus. When David pressed a bandage to her shoulder, she flinched but didn't cry out. "This is field medicine," David said. "She needs proper care from someone who knows her species. But this will keep her stable." Marcus nodded. "Thank you." The alien woman spoke, her translator rendering the words in English. "Why did you help me?" "Your kind does not typically show concern for outsiders." Marcus shrugged. "You needed help. Seemed pretty straightforward. My people have dealt with humans before. Most are cautious, suspicious. You risk consequences by bringing me here. Maybe, but leaving you to bleed out felt worse." She studied him with those unsettling golden eyes, as if trying to understand something fundamental. Then she reached into a pouch on her belt and pulled out a small metallic disc. She pressed it into his hand. "A marker of debt," she said. "Among my people, when one saves another's life, a bond is formed. I am called Vera. I will remember what you did." "Marcus," he replied. "And you don't owe me anything. That is not how my people see such things." She stood carefully, testing her weight. "I must leave before I bring more trouble to you. Thank you, human Marcus. Thank you, human David." She moved toward the door, still favoring her injured side, but clearly determined to go. Marcus wanted to stop her, to make sure she actually got proper help, but something in her bearing told him she wouldn't accept more assistance. This was a proud being, and he had already seen more vulnerability than she likely preferred. After she left, David turned to Marcus. "You know that's going to cause problems, right? Security is probably looking for her. Let them look. She'll be off the station by now. And what about you?" Marcus looked at the small disc in his hand. It was warm to the touch and seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. "I'll deal with it." He did deal with it, in the form of a formal reprimand and a week's suspension without pay. The security officer filed a report about his interference, and station management took a dim view of unauthorized alien contact. Marcus accepted the punishment without complaint. It was worth it. The disc sat on his dresser in his quarters, a curious artifact from a brief encounter. He almost forgot about it as days turned into weeks and station life returned to normal. Almost. 30 days after the incident, Marcus was working late in the cargo bay when the proximity alarm sounded. A ship was requesting permission to dock at Bay 12. He didn't think much of it until he saw the vessel on the monitors. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of the largest cargo haulers that regularly visited the station. The hull was a deep crimson, polished to a mirror shine, and covered in markings he didn't recognize. This was a ship built for more than transport. This was a ship that commanded respect. Station security was going crazy on the comms, demanding identification and purpose. The response came in a familiar voice, rendered through translators across the station speakers. "This is Ambassador Vera of the Threshold Concordat, requesting permission to dock and conduct diplomatic business with a human called Marcus." The cargo bay fell silent. Every worker turned to stare at Marcus. Did she just say ambassador? Someone whispered. Marcus felt his stomach drop. The woman he'd helped wasn't just any alien. She was someone important. Very important. Within minutes, station command was on the comm, demanding he report to the main docking bay immediately. Marcus made his way there in a daze, his mind racing. What had he gotten himself into? The docking bay was filled with security personnel and station brass. Director Williams stood at the front, her face a mask of controlled panic. She grabbed Marcus the moment he arrived. "What exactly did you do?" She hissed. "I helped someone who was hurt." "You helped a high-ranking diplomat from one of the most powerful species in the Concordat. They've been searching for her for weeks. There was an assassination attempt during a trade negotiation. She disappeared before her security could reach her." The airlock cycled open with a hiss of pressurizing air. Vera emerged, no longer wearing damaged armor, but instead dressed in flowing robes of deep purple that seemed to shift and shimmer. She was flanked by 4 guards, each carrying weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Behind them came a procession of attendants carrying cases and containers. She walked directly to Marcus, ignoring everyone else in the bay. Up close, he could see that her shoulder wound had healed completely, leaving no trace of injury. "Human Marcus," she said formally. "I told you I would remember. I told you that among my people, a life debt is sacred." "I didn't know who you were," Marcus managed. "That is precisely why your action mattered. You helped not because of status or potential reward, but because it was right. She turned to address Director Williams and the assembled officials. Humanity is young in the Concordat. Many species dismiss you as aggressive, short-sighted, and untrustworthy. I have argued for years that this view is incomplete. Now I have proof. She gestured, and one of her attendants brought forward a case. Vera opened it, revealing a crystal structure that glowed with inner light. This is a beacon node, Vera explained. It will allow Earth Station to connect directly to the Concordat's primary trade network. No more routing through intermediary species. No more inflated costs. No more restrictions. Your people will have full access to the Concordat markets. Director Williams gasped. Marcus knew enough about station economics to understand what this meant. Earth had been struggling to establish itself as a legitimate trading partner. Most deals went through other species who took significant cuts. Direct access would change everything. Additionally, Vera continued, I am authorized to offer Earth a seat on the Concordat Trade Council. You will have a voice in shaping policy that affects all member species. The implications rippled through the bay. This was more than trade access. This was legitimacy. This was power. All of this, Vera said, turning back to Marcus, because one human saw another being in need and chose compassion over caution. Let that be a lesson to all species.